Welcome, football fans. I'm the Football Guy, and this is my video series where we focus on one random NFL team of the past. If you've ever followed a particular NFL team or player, or even just watched an NFL game, this is the place for you. Okay, we've got a big blue button here that says engage on it, and I'm going to push it right now to get it started. And it looks like this week's focus team will be the 1976 Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, let me set the scene. 1976, over 40 years ago. I was 3 years old. So this is going to be an eye-opener for me. Let's see what kind of interesting facts I can dig up. On the silver screen, Rocky proved to be the breakthrough role for Sylvester Stallone. Stallone played the lead role of Rocky Balboa, who's willing to give everything he has just to become big in boxing. Taxi Driver, a film that captures the morally depraved reality of New York in the 1970s, where everything changes as soon as the sun goes down, tackles the issues of modern men at the time, such as insomnia, depression, hypersensitive behaviors, and most importantly, self-imposed isolation. King Kong was the remake of the classic 1933 movie with the same name, albeit now with improved cinematography, visuals, and brand new faces.
A fantastic adventure, a colossal achievement. A motion picture filled with sights and sounds, unlike anything you've ever experienced before. King Kong.
The film, set in 1976, features the World Trade Center in the climax scene, as well as in the promotional art for the film. On the airwaves, Frampton Comes Alive was released on January 6th, and it became one of the greatest live-selling albums to date. It was voted as the album of the year by Rolling Stone. AC/DC, an Australian hard-rocking group, stepped on the global scene after 2 successful years as a band. They released their first international album, High Voltage, to the global audience. It sold over 3 million copies in the US alone. The critics praised it for bringing in a new flavor to the hard rock genre.
'Cause I'm TNT, I'm dynamite.
Joe Walsh had just joined the American rock band Eagles, and Hotel California was the Eagles' first album released after signing Walsh.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
It was released in December of 1976 and quickly topped the sales charts everywhere. It even received a Grammy Award for being the record of the year. It was also nominated for the album of the year. Technologically speaking, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne formed a company in a garage called Apple. Their main target was to build a functional computer system that could later be marketed and sold. Viking 1 was launched back in August of 1975, and finally, after a long journey, it safely soft-landed on Mars' surface. The main objective behind sending Viking 1 to Mars was to look for any possible signs of life. It carried out its mission for over 6 years before going out of operation in 1982. Viking 1 was also responsible for the famous Face on Mars photo released by NASA and never found any signs of life. JVC introduced their first VHS, or video home system, to compete with Sony's Betamax format of magnetic storage. However, VHS proved to be successful, and by the 80s, more than 60% of households in the United States were making use of VHS tapes. Other items of note: Family Feud first aired on July 12, 1976, and it quickly became the premier game show during the daytime. Jimmy Carter spent the entirety of 1976 campaigning under the Democrat banner. Eventually, his hard work bore fruit, and he was elected as the 39th President of the United States. Carter selected Senator Walter F. Mondale as his running mate. In the world of sports, Canada had put forward a bid to host the 1976 Olympics back in 1970, which was accepted. The majority of African countries boycotted from the 76 Olympics since New Zealand wasn't barred from participating in it. The Soviet Union stood out on top and won the most medals with 125. The United States came in second with 94 medals, and East Germany came in third with 90. We also saw Nadia Comaneci become the first gymnast in Olympic history to be awarded the perfect score of 10 for her performance on the uneven bars.
And 10 has gone on the board. That's perfection, and that is Olympic history for Nadia Comaneci. 10 dead.
With the advent of cheaper technology, more and more people were able to afford television. With improved technology, it was easy for broadcasters to broadcast live games over the satellite. The Olympics was the first tournament that was broadcast and gained 1 billion viewers throughout its runtime. The World Series was a best-of-7 playoff played between the National League champion Cincinnati Reds and the American League champion New York Yankees.
2 outs, and the Yankees are down to their last out. 2 balls, no strikes. 2 outs, 7-2, bottom of the 9th. Cincinnati leading. This could be it. Left field. George Foster. Geronimo Foster makes the catch. That's it. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. The final score: Cincinnati 7, the New York Yankees 2.
The Reds swept the series in 4 games to repeat as champions, avenging their 1939 and 1961 World Series losses to the Yankees. The 1976 Reds became and remain the only team to sweep an entire multi-tier postseason, one of the crowning achievements of the franchise's Big Red Machine. This World Series was the first in which the designated hitter rule, which had been introduced in the AL 3 years prior, was in effect. The use of the DH wound up benefiting the Reds, who were able to get utility infielder Dan Dreisen's bat in the lineup. Dreisen hit .357 with 1 home run. Elliot Maddox, Carlos May, and Lou Piniella shared the role for the Yankees. Game 1, played at Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium, marked the first time the DH was used in a National League ballpark. The 1976 Stanley Cup Finals was contested by the 2-time defending champion Philadelphia Flyers, making their 3rd consecutive finals appearance, and the Montreal Canadiens. This was the Canadiens' first appearance in the final since their Cup win in 1973. The Canadiens would win this best-of-7 series 4-0 to win their 19th Stanley Cup in franchise history. Reggie Leach scored 4 goals in the finals and 19 times in total in the playoffs to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, even though the Flyers lost the cup to the Canadiens. He is the only non-goaltender in NHL history to be named MVP of the playoffs in an unsuccessful cause, and the 3rd of only 5 as of 2023. The Eastern Conference champion Boston Celtics defeated the Western Conference champions Phoenix Suns 4-2 to win their 13th NBA championship. Celtics point guard JoJo White was named as the series MVP. Okay, now let's get into it. In 1976, there were 28 teams in the league, with each conference having 2 5-team divisions and 1 4-team division with a 14-game schedule. 1976 saw the NFL bring in 2 expansion teams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Seattle Seahawks. The draft would last 17 rounds, with the Buccaneers selecting Leroy Selman with the 1st overall selection. The 1976 Kansas City Chiefs were coached by Paul Wiggin. Wiggin was in the 2nd year of a 3-year stint with the Chiefs, his only NFL head coaching job. He was looking to improve on the 5-9 record of the 75 Chiefs. He inherited a roster that had been depleted due to age in various trades and would lead the team to another 5-9 season, finishing 4th in the AFC West Division. Hall of Fame quarterback Lynn Dawson retired, leaving Wiggin to fill the void with Mike Livingston. Mike Livingston played at SMU and threw for 2,432 yards over 3 years, while Tony Adams set an NCAA single-game record with Utah State, throwing for 561 net passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Livingston would start all 14 games passing for 2,682 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. The Chiefs' passing game was ranked 2nd overall for passing yards, but 15th overall for touchdowns scored. Adams was the backup quarterback and appeared in 4 games, compiling 575 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. The rushing game ranked 22nd overall in rushing yards, but ranked 6th overall for touchdowns scored. Fullback MacArthur Lane, who was the number 1 most valuable running back of 1970 with an FGV value of 209.43, led the team in rushing yards with 542 and added 5 touchdowns. Lane played 11 years in the league, with his best season coming in 1970 with the Cardinals, in which he led the league in rushing touchdowns with 11 and made his only Pro Bowl appearance. Running back Ed Pudelak was the team's second leading rusher with 371 yards and 5 touchdowns. Woody Green was the third leading rusher on the team with 322 yards and 1 touchdown. Second-year backup tight end Walter White led the team in receiving yards with 808 and added 7 touchdowns while averaging 17.2 yards per reception. He would become a full-time starter in 1977 and played 5 years in the league. Versatile fullback Lane also added to the passing game, hauling in a team-high 66 receptions for 686 yards and 1 touchdown. Wide receiver Larry Brunson was the third leading receiver on the team with 656 yards and 1 touchdown. Brunson would also return punts for the Chiefs in 1976 and averaged 12.5 yards per return. Defensive end Larry Estes played 5 years in the league, his first 2 with the Chiefs. He would start 3 games for the Chiefs in 76 and end up leading the team in sacks with 5.5. Left defensive tackle John Lohmeyer played 4 years in the league, all with the Chiefs. He was drafted in the 4th round of the 73 draft. Late in the 1973 season, Lohmeyer fractured a neck vertebrae and missed the remainder of the season as well as all of 1974 season. He returned to the lineup in 1975 in limited time and cracked the starting lineup in 1976, tallying 4 sacks for the season. Hall of Fame middle linebacker Willie Lanier manned the middle of the defense for the Chiefs. He enjoyed an 11-year career with the Chiefs and appeared in the Pro Bowl 8 straight years, from 68 to 75. He was also selected to the All-Pro First Team 3 times. He had 3 interceptions and 2 fumble returns for the Chiefs in 1976. Rookie free safety Gary Barbaro started all 14 games for the Chiefs in 76. He played 7 years in the league, all for the Chiefs, and led the league in interception and return yards in 1977 with 165, 102 of which came on 1 return for a touchdown. He had 3 interceptions in 1976 and also 1 fumble return. Free safety Gary Barbaro was drafted in the 3rd round by the Chiefs and became an immediate starter. He played his entire 7-year career in Kansas City, starting all 101 games that he appeared in. His best season came in 1980 as he logged 10 interceptions on the season and made his first of 3 Pro Bowl appearances. Wide receiver Henry Marshall was also selected in the 3rd round of the 73 draft. He too became an immediate starter for the Chiefs, catching 28 passes for 443 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. He played all 12 years of his career for the Chiefs and started 135 out of 165 games that he appeared in. Linebacker and defensive end Whitney Paul was selected in the 10th round of the 73 draft and played 11 years in the league. He started 8 games in 1976, adding 3.5 sacks and 1 fumble recovery on the season. He would go on to start the next 5 years for Kansas City, 1 at defensive end and the other 4 at outside linebacker. He later played 4 seasons in New Orleans before returning for his final season with the Chiefs. The Chiefs were a team in flux in 1976. Hall of Famers Buck Buchanan and Lynn Dawson both retired. Jack Stedman was promoted to team president, and Jim Schaaf was named the general manager. Livingston took over the reins at the quarterback position, and the team opened the season with a 4-game losing streak. They bounced back with a 3-1 record over the mid-season stretch and finished the last third of the season with a 2-3 record, with Livingston rallying the team to 2 victories in the last 3 games. It's hard to believe, but it would be another 10 years before the Chiefs would return to relevance and make a playoff appearance. Thanks for joining me on this week's Throwback Thursday trip. Let me know in the comments what your favorite memory of this team was, or if I missed anything. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell a friend. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.